Okay, so the love one. So this is mostly going to be your romantic comedies and such, all right? So in the love one, you've got a couple and sometimes more than one couple because they are often actually they have classes in them. And I don't mean classes like classrooms, okay? What I mean is you have different sets of characters running parallel storylines. In the example of A Midsummer Night's Dream, you have fairies and then aristocrats called the lovers. And then you also have like a side thing, which is just the working class people. And it kind of sucks because the working class people almost never have like romances of their own, and when they do, they're considered to be funny, right? It's just how it goes. They're usually used as the comic relief in almost all of the tragedies, and so when you actually get to a comedy, the working class are interesting to look at because they're really just supposed to be side characters, but sometimes they have their own interesting plot. And in A Midsummer Night's Dream, that I would argue that plot follows like a tragic hero plot. The character of Bottom. So you could talk about character in those, and you could go and you could talk about a hero in a lot of these. So you could talk about Prospero from The Tempest. You could go and do the hero one on him because or almost anti-hero, like he's messed up, right? He's a messed up dude. So there's a lot of things about classes. You could talk about comedies and get into like power, and you could talk about the differences between how everything is going. But basically here you have couples in love. So you're going to have, and usually they follow a couple of different couples. So like in Taming of the Shrew, you have Kate and the next guy, and then you have Bianca and the other guy, and then you have like these three different love stories going on. Typically speaking, you're going to have more than one love story kind of weaving in and out. And so when you are going to do an essay and you're doing an essay about love, you want to look at how is love differently portrayed in the modern version, the movie, versus the play. Because obviously we have changed, it's been centuries, and we have changed how we see, especially women and women's roles, okay? So a big one would be, like, if you think about The Tempest and Miranda, or even in A Midsummer Night's Dream, a father gets to tell his daughter what to do and who to marry. That's like a central theme in all of these plays. Women don't have anything to say. So one common essay to do is to do the role of women. How are women portrayed differently in the movie, which is for a modern audience, versus the play? Like, because in the play, it's just accepted at that time that that the girl has to marry whoever her dad says. Like, that's just how it is. So if you're doing that, you could do an essay, compare how women are seen in the original play versus how they're seen in the other. The other way you can look at it is how are the different love stories done between the three. So if you're doing A Midsummer Night's Dream, for example, how do they handle, you could compare the characters of the fairies, and you could get into a lot of stuff, but for a compare and contrast essay, I really think your best bet is to look at, for Taming of the Shrew especially, look at like how they see women and how they see the concept of love. Like, and because in the main theme of all of these is that love conquers all, which was a really popular theme, but at the time it's seen as like kind of like a fantasy. And do remember that the women that Shakespeare was writing for were actually young male actors. And the reason that they didn't have a lot of lines is because they were young and they were like apprentices. It wasn't because he was like, oh, I don't want women to talk. It's just they literally had less ability to memorize lines. So you can choose to do it about the concept of love, about how women are treated by changing the setting. Like, how does changing the setting of the play and putting it in this different time and putting it in like a high school, or putting it in the 1890s where the suffragettes are just starting, like, how does the setting change? How does having it in a graphic novel make it different? You know? And you can do differences in that way about love, but you can also do it about the hero or how power is seen in the play. All right? So it's basically that. And so that's the love one.